So let's talk a little bit about brand tone to start things off. When I talk about brand tone, I'm talking about the approach that you're taking within all aspects and interactions of your brand, your yoga brand. Any interaction that your yoga brand has with outside kind of potential clients or students and your audience, that tone plays into the feeling that you want them to have. So whatever you want your students or your clients to feel, you need to take a specific tone with them to achieve that feeling. So let's think about something simple to start with. Let's talk about your fonts. When you're choosing your fonts for your brand, every font and typeface has a type of mood or characteristic or quality to it that elicits some sort of reaction or feeling from us, whether we're tuned into that or not. And if you really do start to kind of look around at fonts, you may even tune into it a little bit more now that I've told you about it, or that you're learning about choosing your own fonts. Because some fonts that are maybe more bold and harsh and strong, geometrical shapes, those kinds of things, they elicit more of a bold and strong reaction from the people viewing them. Or if you've got some sort of really beautiful scripty font, there's some kind of mood and quality to that is totally different than the bold, harsh font that we're talked about before. So they do have different kind of tones within the fonts that you're going to be looking at and choosing from. So don't think too much into this, because you might be sitting there wondering, how is a font going to make me feel happy or sad or confused? And that's not what I'm saying. It does elicit some sort of reaction, and it does have a type of feeling to it, but I don't want you to think so much into it that you're worried that you're going to make your clients or your students sad by choosing some font over another. It's just to get you starting to think about all these different aspects about your brand that will contribute to that overall tone that you want to be communicating to your audience. The same concept goes for things like colors. Choosing your brand colors elicits some sort of reaction or feeling from people. We're going to talk more about this in the colors section, but particular colors have kind of psychological ties to them. They are deeply rooted in how we associate to things in the world. So if you think about red, it's very powerful and passionate and almost can be like angry or aggressive. Things like purple are a little bit more uplifting and calm, and we associate that to maybe royal and these kinds of things. So we have deeply rooted concepts about colors, and they do elicit, if you tune in, certain reactions within people in the audience and people who are viewing your brand. So as you start to think about color, we want to start to think about overall our brand tone and what we want our audience to feel, the tone we want to take with our brand, and how colors and fonts and things like that tie into that tone. How about thinking about your content, your blog posts? If you have a blog or you write on social media or you're commenting on people's posts, you have a particular tone that you take. Some people have a tone that's very kind of vulgar and it's out there and it's a little bit more aggressive, and that totally works for them. And then other people have a very soft and professional and clean type of kind of writing style or approach to their content. They're two very different things, and they work for their own brand or their own cause if it's consistent across all platforms, but they totally elicit different feelings from different audience members. So as we start to get to know our ideal student and get to know our brand tone and what our kind of brand personality is, which in turns, as yoga teachers, is kind of our own personal tone, starting to tune into that and figure out what your personal tone is and how to communicate that in your brand is going to start being important as you start to kind of touch on all these different areas and interactions within your yoga teaching brand and your yoga teaching business. Let's think about an example. As we were just talking about blog posts or people who have kind of profanity or aggressive tones in their brand, and they communicate with a very straightforward and kind of not... they just say it how it is, basically, and there might even be swear words thrown out and in and around their content and stuff like that. And their colors, let's say, are very kind of grounded and but like a little bit bright, and it's just the font choices are those strong, kind of bold. So it's a very kind of strengthening and very situated brand that they've chosen to go with. And they're speaking to a particular audience as well. They're speaking to people who resonate with that style of learning. Let's say that same person uses a business card that's very pastel-y and it's got like scripty fonts and that kind of thing. If someone took the business card and went onto their website, they'd be very utterly confused, and it would be kind of jarring. Like, it would throw you off a little bit because you expect one thing and then you end up on another. So that's where the consistency plays in, and keeping that tone consistent across all platforms, keeping the same kind of language, the same approach to all your different kind of aspects is going to be really key in making sure that people recognize you and stick around to find out what you're all about. What I want you to do now is starting to think about what your tone might already be, because you likely already have a tone and you likely already have an approach to how you teach and how you speak to students, how you write, these types of things. Starting to notice that and maybe putting some words down on paper to figure out what that tone, or if you had to describe it in words, what that would be. And starting to also think about what you want your students to feel when they interact with you. What do you want them to take away from you? Do you want them to feel grounded and calm? Do you want them to feel motivated and inspired? Do you want them to feel kind of just happy and, like peaceful and just content? Starting to think about what you want students to feel and how your tone can elicit that reaction is just a little bit of a brainstorming exercise so you can start to get things on paper. So I encourage you to go back, look at your worksheets, go back to Module 2 and read over all of the deep foundational work you did there and start to put some words on paper about what your tone would be if I were to ask you, what is your brand tone?